read. We
Happy.
love to read. Hi, everyone. It's the Book Cougars, two middle-aged women on the hunt for a good read. I'm Emily.
And I'm Chris. And we're so happy to be here for Friday Reads. It feels like it's been a while anyway.
It does. We've been busy, but we're glad to be together, slightly apart, but together. And we're going to announce our 2025 theme for the podcast, our first quarter read along. We've got some show and tell to talk about, and then we're going to talk Friday reads.
For those of you who've listened to the latest episode of the podcast, you've heard this, but we know some people only follow us on YouTube, and that's awesome. So we wanted to make sure that you heard that our 2025 reading theme, which will be guiding our read-alongs, is
Ghost stories.
super
Which can go
exciting.
in so many different directions. Yeah, it's very
Yeah.
exciting.
Yes, absolutely. We came upon this theme when we were standing in a Barnes and Noble on Long Island back in the summer. And a couple things just kind of clicked. And then we're like, oh my gosh, we have to do ghost stories.
And then we had to keep it a secret for 6 months, which was hard. So we're so glad the secret is finally out. And we
Now,
have our first quarter pick. Oh, I'm sorry. What were you going
yes.
to say?
Oh, I was just going to say, this finger was our first quarter pick is
Number one.
dun, dun, dun,
The
The
Haunting of Hill
Haunting.
House by Shirley Jackson.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I love this one so much. I know a lot of people love this one so much, and or they can't wait to get to it because it's been on their TBR for a long time. It is a thin novel. It is, I'm sure some would say, well, it's 246 pages in this
That's like
edition.
my ideal. Lately, I've been really into books that come in under 250 pages. I think if you
Okay.
can tell a story that way, yes, I'm in.
Mhm. Now, the book came out in 1959. It was up for a National Book Award, which is rare for a horror story. It is technically horror, but more in the gothic tradition than any kind of slashery stuff. So, we're not going to go there. This is good classic suspense horror, a lot of psychological things, for lack of a better word.
Yeah, when we were in Barnes and Noble chatting, I turned to Chris and I said, I want to do ghost stories, but I don't want to read anything gory and bloody. I don't like that. But a little thrill and suspense I'm all about. So I
Yeah.
can't wait. I have not read this. You've read it a couple times, right? I've
hmm
never read it. So I
Yeah.
cannot wait. Yeah.
Definitely one of my favorites. Now, this is an older Penguin edition. It's from what did I say, the 80s, I think, when you and I were chatting. Yeah, 1987. Penguin has some really nice new editions of The Haunting of Hill House. They have a really cool hardcover that's part of their horror classic series. They have a deluxe edition, and then they have the standard Penguin Classics edition, which is this book, but with a newer, updated cover.
Right. Yeah, and we already gave two of the horror editions out to Patreon members. They have such cool covers. We'll put a link down below where you can see this. There's 6 titles in this horror release that they did. And then we're going to be reading from the classic Penguin Random House version. They also sent us a deluxe Penguin House edition that we're going to do as a giveaway to a newsletter subscriber. So if you'd like to join our newsletter, look for the link down below. If you're already a newsletter subscriber, you're automatically entered to win. Our read along is going to be on Sunday, February 16th at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We'll also put down below our email address. If you would like to join us for that Zoom conversation, we'd love to have you. We also have a companion read that we're doing.
Let me lift this one. This one is a much different situation.
Not
Um,
under 250 pages.
yeah, and sorry, my library, cover or the protection is on here, so it's kind of glary. But the book is Shirley Jackson, A Rather Haunted Life by Ruth Franklin. Let me get to the cover page. How about that? Here we go. Oh, look at she signed it. There we go.
Very nice.
Yeah, so Emily and I saw Ruth Franklin at Manchester, Vermont, at the Northshire Bookstore, October 29th, 2016. To Chris, insist on your cup of stars. Now, that will make more sense to those of you who haven't read The Haunting of Hill House after you read it. But here we go. There's Shirley Jackson.
Wow. I
And
love
this
that picture.
is an amazing biography. It is a very dense book. How many hours is the audio, Emily?
Yeah, I just downloaded it and it's just over 19 hours. So I'm ready to go. I'm ready to walk and listen and read. We
Yes.
have the paperback edition of that biography. We're going to give one of those away to a newsletter subscriber as well. And we're going to do a companion read of that. We're not going to do a formal Zoom discussion, at least not at this time. If enough people show interest, maybe we will. But we're definitely going to read it. Chris has already read it. She's read both, but she's going to do rereads.
I love rereading.
Yes.
And I did listen to the audio of the biography and really enjoyed consuming it that way.
There are multiple audio versions of The Haunting of Hill House as well, and I haven't decided which one I'm going to listen to because I'm going to do both. I'm going to hybridly read both of them for sure. There's also a Netflix serialized television series of The Haunting of Hill House. And is there one or two movies, Chris?
There's
I'm
two
not
or
sure.
three,
Oh,
actually.
two or three. Okay.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I know there are two for sure.
Okay.
And they're all, well, the series, the new Netflix series, is definitely an inspired by
Right.
type of series. Mike Flanagan. It's written, directed by Mike Flanagan, who's one of my favorite horror writers slash directors. He did Midnight Mass, which I have binged like now 12 times probably. I
Oh my
love that so
gosh.
much. So good. Yeah, so very, a lot of ways to dig into this story. But as always, we recommend you read the actual novel first,
Yes, for sure.
because all of the adaptations do different things. And of course, the TV series that's inspired by has a lot of added material as well. But it's very interesting series for sure.
Yes. And we would love to know your favorite ghost stories. Please let us know in the comments below. Short stories, books to film adaptations, or now, television shows. They're doing a lot of those serialized television shows. We'd love to
Yeah.
hear it all because we're just starting out on this year of ghost stories.
So
So,
next, we were going to talk about some show and tell because in a recent episode, we talked about some holiday gift ideas. So,
yeah.
Emily, take it away with your wiggly notebook.
My wiggly notebook. So Chris and I were in New York City together probably a year ago and went to Kinokuniya, a bookstore there, and both of us found these soft ring notebooks. That means like they're really squishy. I'm literally squeezing them. They're
Yeah.
plastic and soft.
And
I
and
love mine
very
so much.
very sturdy, like these are
Yeah,
not, they don't rip or bend or, I mean, well, they bend obviously, but they don't like snap and
right.
they go back to their shape.
And then the
And
cover is kind of a hard plastic on mine.
yeah, same.
Yeah.
Kind of like a little but see-through and very durable and it doesn't get snagged on anything because there's no
No.
end for
Yeah.
these little hoops to get snagged on.
Yeah. And mine is graph paper, which is kind of hard to see. There you can see it.
Here. And I don't know if you can see mine. Mine is kind of like dotted lined paper. And then
Yeah.
I have one that has a white cover that is blank paper as well.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, we talked about these on the holiday episode. We'll put links to them down below. We know lots of readers are also office supply hoarders like us. So we thought we would share these.
Indeed. The thing I like about the paper, now these are two different brands, right? Because
Yeah, we'll put
mine
links to
is
both of them.
Kokuyo and yours is,
Mine is Soofa.
okay.
Yeah.
And but we've got them at Kinokuniya. And then also this is the same brand, this Kokuyo. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that correctly. This one is a larger size that I actually found at Barnes and Noble here in Connecticut anyway. Yeah.
Yeah, so those soft rings I think are gaining in popularity. This was the first time I had ever seen them, but I just love them. So I love it so much.
And the paper quality is really good. I
Yes.
love to write with a fountain pen, and the paper quality is great for a fountain pen. There's not a lot of ghosting, um, and it's just wonderful for also ink pens and even pencil. But I like to write with all
Yes.
three of those types. So
Yeah. Yeah. And then I wanted to show off one of the other things I talked about that I purchased for myself is the short story advent calendar. I've been doing a year-long short story reading project where every Monday I read a short story out of one of my collections. The point was to read through all the collections I own. I admittedly also ended up purchasing new collections and finding them at libraries, etc. But when I heard about this, I was like, oh, what a great way to go out of my year of reading short stories with a bang. It's a company that I'll put down below. It's called Hingston and Olson, and they put this out every year and have for, I think, a decade. And I wasn't really sure what to expect because I've never had an advent calendar. If you're looking for something more classic where you open up a window or something like that, this will disappoint. But if you're looking for something that's a countdown of sorts, it is really fun in that way because it's literally a group of little booklets. There's 25 of them and they're numbered. So this one is number one. And inside, they're very thin, as you can see, short stories, and it has the author's name and the title of the story. So this one is called In the Stacks by Robin Sloan. I had never read anything by him. The very back has a nice little bio of the author. Some of them actually list, the books they've read. Some of them just tell you a little bit about them. And then there's a short story. The first one is 14 pages. I've read the first one and the second one was 23 pages. Both of them were fantastic. And as I finished them, I was like, what am I going to do with these once I finish them? And I decided that I'm going to start a new project, which is as I'm reading them, to think about a friend that would enjoy the story and put it in the mail with a note for them and send these 25 stories on their way when I'm done reading them.
it's a great
So
idea.
yeah, I'm really excited about that. And I'm really enjoying it. And I am just gonna start, I'm not gonna really hold myself to task about how to read them, but pick them up as I'm ready, and then enjoy the idea of passing them on to somebody else. So I'll put link in the show notes down below. Again, it's the short story advent calendar.
So cool. I'm glad you tried that out.
Yeah, it's a nice way to be introduced to authors that I haven't read also, but read something very small. The second one was written by Catherine, I think you pronounce her name Heaney, Catherine Heaney. It's called The Hookup. And I have a novel of hers that I haven't had a chance to get to. So when I opened it, I was really excited to think I would get to read something of hers that isn't a whole novel yet.
Nice.
So,
Very cool.
yeah.
Well, on to Friday reads. I've been a little bit under the weather, so my reading got slowed down some, but I am deep into The Tenant of Wildfell Hall by Anne Brontë, and I'm loving it. This, again, is the Penguin Classics edition. We're not sponsored by Penguin. We just love Penguin Classics. Let's just put that out there. Now, I have to thank our listener, Tina, she's from the US originally, but studying in England, working on her PhD, focusing on Anne Bronte, who emailed us to say, just a heads up in case you don't know, this novel was published in 1848. I always put the year, I always write that on the cover of these penguins. But there was an 1854 edition that came out after Anne died that had some missing parts to it because it was a bit of a controversial novel. It was very popular, but it deals with the subject matter that the reading public, or at least the publishers, didn't think proper or that the public was wanting at the time, even though it was well received by readers, which is an alcoholic abusive husband, basically. So this 1854 edition that came out that was missing bits became the one that most subsequent editions of this novel were based on. So it's missing its framework and an important bit of a chapter later on in the novel. Tina gave me an alert that the Project Gutenberg e version that I was kind of going back and forth with is the 1854 edition, not the first edition from 1848 that Anne intended to be read. So I thanked her for that, dropped that. I'm reading exclusively from this book. I had that Barnes and Noble Classics edition that I originally was going to read, and I just didn't like the way it felt in my hand and the paper and things like that. I pulled that book out of my donation bag and found out it too is the 1854 edition that's missing bits. And that was published in like 2006 or something like that. So this is still going on. So heads up to anybody reading The Tenant of Wildfell Hall or wanting to read it, make sure that you get the complete edition because it's not like these other editions from using the 1854 say that it's abridged in any way. They
That's
don't.
so
You
interesting.
think you're getting
Wow.
the whole book.
Hmm.
As it was intended by the author, but you were not. So thank you to Tina for that. Um, Now I plan on finishing that pretty quickly. I also purchased a vampire novel, and it's called Lucy Undying, a Dracula novel. This is by Kiersten White. I've been hearing lots of great things about this. It's a newer novel. Isn't it a cool, creepy cover? So I
Very
don't know
creepy
if you
because
could see that,
it's
like,
like a werewolf novel also, it looks like.
yeah, they're wolves, like right in her hair.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
so this is Lucy from the original Dracula. Apparently, she survives, and Dracula is still out and about. But Lucy starts falling for another woman in contemporary London or England, at least. I'm not sure if it's London. So it has a sapphic element to it, which I'm really looking forward to. And it kind of just what I've read about it, it made me think a little bit of that book that I read earlier this year called Thirst by Marina Yuszczuk. I'm not sure of her last name, who is I believe, an Argentinian writer. And her novel featured a woman vampire and another contemporary woman and how they came together. So I am hoping to end my year with some nice sapphic vampire action.
Yes, this is the time I've already been thinking about that. Like, what am I going to be reading from the 31st to the 1st? That's usually a very heavy, important decision for me. So I have a week and a half to figure that out. I'm reading something that was recommended during our last Patreon reading salon by Kim. I was talking about how we're finishing up our year of reading romance, and I wanted to read a sports romance because I hadn't had a chance to do that yet. And I started one and it wasn't working for me. And she said, check this out, pun intended. It's called Check Please. And this is book one, Hockey. And it's a graphic novel. You can see the pictures. And the main protagonist is a young man who's gone off to college and he's a vlogger and also a baker. He likes to bake pies. So this is meet Eric Biddle, and he goes by Biddy. And he's kind of learning what it's like to be a sports player in college with a lot of bro mentality. And he has a history where he did a lot of freestyle skating and figure skating and also played hockey, but he played co-ed hockey in high school. So this is a big difference when he gets to college. And he falls for one of his fellow hockey players. And I love how on the inside flap it says, "You see the problem. Look at that debonair hockey player." Chris and I have talked on the podcast how graphic novels can be kind of tricky for us because our eyes go towards the words more than towards the pictures. So I've just barely started it today, and I'm really taking my time with each page. Like, stop, look at the art, read the pages, and so far it's off to a great start. So thank you to Kim for recommending it. And there is a book 2 out already. So when I finish this one, I'm going to try to find that. I got this from our local Guilford library. Let us know what you're reading. Let's see, we have 3 assignments for you. Let us know what you're reading. Let us know if you have any favorite ghost stories. And let us know if you too participate in the big question of what do I usher in the new year
Oh,
reading? We
yeah,
would like to know.
it is a big, big issue. Very
It is.
important. It's critical. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and we wish you lots of happy
Reading.